If you are still here, breathing, reading these words, standing on your own feet, despite everything that tried to pull you down, then understand this clearly. Survival itself is evidence. It is not accidental. It is not random. It is not random. It is not something to dismiss as normal life. You survived what was specifically designed to test your limits, to expose your weaknesses, and to see whether you would abandon yourself when the pressure became uncomfortable. Many people believe survival is passive, that you simply endure until time passes. That is false. Survival is active. It requires constant decisions, moment by moment, to not give up, to not numb yourself completely, to not choose the easy escape when the hard path is available. The fact that you are still here means that somewhere inside you, even when you felt empty, something refused to die. Think back carefully. There were days when waking up felt heavy, not physically heavy, but mentally exhausting. Your body could move, but your spirit resisted. The future felt unclear, and the past felt loud. You questioned your value. You questioned your direction. You questioned whether the effort was worth it when results were invisible. This is where most people quietly collapse. Not dramatically, not with noise, but slowly. They lower their standards. They compromise their discipline. They stop expecting anything meaningful from themselves. They tell themselves stories to justify stagnation. You felt those temptations too. That is important to admit. Strength is not the absence of weakness. It is the refusal to obey it. In Shaolin philosophy, hardship is not seen as punishment. It is seen as refinement. Fire does not destroy gold. It reveals it. But fire destroys what is not solid. When life applied heat to you, it was not asking whether you were comfortable. It was asking whether you were real, whether your values existed only in calm moments or could survive pressure, whether your identity was dependent on praise or rooted in principle. When support disappeared, when understanding vanished, when people misunderstood or walked away, the question became simple. Who are you when nothing reinforces you? Survival at this level is lonely. That is something people rarely talk about. When you are truly being tested, encouragement is scarce. Validation is scarce. Validation is minimal. Even people who care about you may not understand what you are going through. They see your silence and assume distance. They see your discipline and assume coldness. They see your restraint and assume weakness. But restraint is strength under control. Silence is power, choosing precision. Discipline is self-respect in action. You learn to carry weight without announcing it. That is not accidental. That is training. Pain has a unique way of stripping illusions. It removes the fantasy version of life and leaves only what is essential. During your hardest moments, you learned what actually matters. You learned which attachments were draining you. You learned which habits were numbing you. You learned which thoughts were lies, dressed as comfort. And most importantly, you learned that you are capable of enduring discomfort without self-destruction. This is a rare skill. Most people either fight pain aggressively or escape it completely. You learn to stand inside it, observe it, and continue moving forward without becoming bitter. There were moments when quitting would have been understandable. This is important, not easy, not lazy, but understandable. Moments where any reasonable person would say, enough, I've done my part. Moments where stopping would not have made you a bad person. Those are the moments that define character, because character is not built by what you do when the choice is obvious. It is built by what you do when the choice is obvious. It is built by what you do when both options hurt, when neither path guarantees relief, and when continuing feels irrational. You continued anyway, not perfectly, not heroically, but honestly, and honesty is stronger than performance. Survival also means you did not allow suffering to turn you cruel. This is one of the most dangerous transformations. Pain often seeks expression, and if it cannot leave as growth, it leaves as bitterness. You had every excuse to harden completely, to close your heart, to justify selfishness, to say the world owes you something. You felt those impulses, but you did not let them define you. You remained principled, even when life was unfair. That restraint is not weakness, it is moral strength. It is moral strength. It means you chose long-term integrity over short-term emotional relief. God's congratulations are not emotional relief. They are recognition of inner alignment. When you survive with your values intact, you demonstrate trustworthiness, not to the world, but to life itself. Life gives greater responsibility only to those who do not collapse under pressure. This is why survival is not the end, it is the qualification. You are being acknowledged not because you suffered, but because you suffered without abandoning your core. Many suffer, few grow, fewer remain grounded. There is also something subtle here that must be understood. You did not just survive external circumstances, you survived yourself, your doubts, your impatience, your inner critic, the voice that told you that you were behind, late, forgotten, or insignificant. That voice is often more dangerous than external opposition. External enemies strengthen you, internal enemies confuse you. You learn to observe that voice without obeying it. That is mastery. When you can hear doubt and still act correctly, you are no longer controlled by emotion. You are guided by principle. Survival teaches humility. When life humbles you, arrogance becomes impossible to maintain. You stop assuming outcomes. You stop demanding recognition. You stop expecting fairness as a guarantee. Instead, you focus on effort, consistency, and alignment. This humility is not self-degradation. It is clarity. It is understanding your place in the process. You are neither entitled nor powerless. You are responsible. That realization changes everything. If what you went through was meant to break you, and it did not, then its purpose was transformation, not comfort, not reward. Transformation is quiet, often invisible to others. But inside you, something has shifted. You react differently. Now, you pause more. You choose your battles. You waste less energy on meaningless conflict. You understand that strength is conserved, not displayed. This is the mark of someone who has been forged, not sheltered. Congratulations, in this context, is not celebration. It is confirmation. Confirmation that you are no longer who you were before the pressure. Confirmation that your foundation held. Confirmation that your foundation held. Confirmation that you can be trusted with further growth. This does not mean life will now be easy. It means life can now be honest with you. There is a difference. Easy life is given to those who are kept small. Honest life is given to those who can handle truth. Do not rush to tell your story. Not everyone deserves access to what shaped you. Some will minimize it. Some will misunderstand it. Some will use it to feel superior or to judge. Protect your experience. Let it express itself through your behavior, your discipline, your calmness. Let people feel your strength rather than hear about it. The deepest respect is ear, silently. Remember this, surviving what was meant to break you does not make you invincible. It makes you aware. Aware of your limits, aware of your capacity, aware of how quickly things can change. This awareness keeps you grounded. It prevents recklessness. It encourages preparation. It sharpens focus. Awareness is the quiet companion of wisdom. So if today carries the message of congratulations, receive it without pride and without doubt, not as a trophy, but as a nod, a recognition that you passed through something real and came out intact. Bow internally, acknowledge the effort, then return to your training, because survival is not the destination. 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 Because survival is not destination. Because survival is not destination. But not destination. It is the foundation. And what is built on it depends on what you choose next. Faith is often misunderstood. because people confuse it with emotion. They think faith is what you feel when things are going well, when prayers seem answered, when life aligns with expectations. But real faith is revealed when emotion disappears, when enthusiasm fades, when excitement dies, when no external sign confirms that you are on the right path. What remains in those moments is not feeling. It is behavior, and behavior is the truest language of belief. Discipline is the evidence of that belief. Not words, not declarations, not public devotion. Discipline is what you do consistently when nobody is watching, when there is no reward attached, when the outcome is uncertain. This is why discipline is proof of faith. It shows that you trust the process even when the process offers no reassurance. You woke up on days when you felt nothing, no inspiration, no hope, no excitement, just heaviness. Many people wait for motivation before acting. That is not faith, that is dependency. Faith acts first and allows feeling to follow later. You moved your body when it wanted rest. You trained your mind when it wanted distraction. You chose rest, when impulse demanded release. These choices were not dramatic, but they were sacred because they were made without applause. In Shaolin philosophy, discipline is not punishment. It is alignment. It is choosing actions that support your long-term integrity rather than your short-term comfort. Comfort is loud. Discipline is quiet. Comfort demands satisfaction now. Discipline promises clarity later. Every time you chose discipline, you are making a statement to life. I trust what I am becoming more than what I feel right now. Faith without discipline is fantasy. Discipline without faith is mechanical. But when the two combine, something powerful forms. You begin to move even when the mind complains. You begin to act correctly even when emotion resists. This is not suppression. This is leadership. You are leading yourself instead of being dragged by mood. There were moments when discipline felt pointless, when repetition felt boring, when effort felt wasted, when progress was invisible. These are the moments that reveal the depth of your faith. Anyone can be disciplined when results are obvious. Anyone can stay consistent when praise is guaranteed. Very few remain disciplined when silence is the only response. That silence is not absence, it is testing. God does not observe your intensity on good days. God observes your consistency on hard days. When you showed up without energy, without recognition, without certainty, you demonstrated trust. Trust that your effort mattered even if you never saw the outcome. Trust that alignment itself was valuable. Trust that becoming was more important than achieving. Discipline also means restraint, and restraint is one of the highest forms of strength. You did not react to every insult. You did not respond to every provocation. You did not chase every desire. You learned that just because you can act does not mean you should. This level of control requires faith in timing, faith that what is meant for you does not require force, faith that silence can be stronger than noise, faith that patience is not weakness, but strategy. Restraint is painful at first. The ego wants expression, the emotions want release, the mind wants justification. Discipline teaches you to pause between impulse and action. In that pause, wisdom lives. You learn to sit in discomfort without escaping it. You learned to let urges pass without obeying them. This is not repressio, nen. This is mastery. You did not kill desire. You trained it. Prayer is often seen as something spoken, but the most powerful prayer is lived. When you keep your word to yourself, that is prayer. When you honor your commitments even when inconvenient, that is prayer. When you do what is right instead of what is easy, that is prayer. Discipline turns belief into movement. It grounds faith into reality. There were days when nobody would have known if you failed. Days when skipping effort would have gone unnoticed. Days when lowering your standard would have had no immediate consequence. Those days matter the most because discipline, chosen in secrecy, builds character. Character does not depend on witnesses. It depends on conscience. You learned that motivation is unreliable, that emotions fluctuate, that discipline is the only stable structure. This understanding changes how you relate to life. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop needing permission from your mood. You begin to act from principle. Principle outlasts emotion. Principle creates direction. Emotion follows direction, not the other way around. Faith also means accepting delay without resentment. You did not receive instant results. You did not see immediate transformation. You did not get clear confirmation. Yet you continued. This patience is rare. Many abandon discipline when results are slow. They assume delay means denial, but delay is often preparation. What arrives too early is often wasted. You trusted timing even when it tested you. Discipline requires humility. It forces you to face your limitations honestly. It exposes inconsistency. It reveals excuses. Many people avoid discipline because it removes their ability to lie to themselves. You did not avoid it. You faced yourself daily. You saw where you were weak. You saw where you were undisciplined. And instead of justifying it, you corrected it. Correction is love in action. There is also a spiritual maturity in discipline. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop bargaining with your values. You understand that every exception you allow becomes a crack in your foundation. Discipline seals those cracks. It creates inner order, and where there is order, energy flows without waste. God's congratulations are not given because you followed rules. They are given because you aligned your inner world with your outer actions. You did not say one thing and do another. You did not claim belief and live contradiction. You practiced coherence. Thought, intention, and action moved closer together. This alignment is rare and powerful. Discipline also protects you from arrogance. When you are disciplined, you are constantly reminded that growth requires effort. You do not attribute progress to superiority. You attribute it to practice. This keeps you grounded. It keeps you teachable. It keeps you progressing. Pride stagnates. Discipline evolves. When discipline becomes part of your identity, life trusts you with more freedom. This sounds paradoxical, but it is true. Those who cannot control themselves must be controlled by circumstances. Those who can control themselves are given choice. You earned that trust, not through talent, not through luck, through repeated, quiet obedience to what you knew was right. You also learned that discipline is not rigid cruelty, it is intelligent structure. You adjusted when needed. You rested when necessary, but you never abandoned the path. Flexibility within commitment. That balance is wisdom. Extremes break people. Balance builds them. Faith expressed through discipline creates inner peace, not happiness. Peace, the calm that comes from knowing you did not betray yourself. The stability that comes from self-respect, the confidence that comes from integrity. Even when life was unstable, you were not at war with yourself. That is a powerful state. So when God says congratulations in this context, it is not because you were perfect. It is because you were faithful in action. You honored the path even when it was dry. You honored your word even when it was inconvenient. You honored growth even when it was painful. This kind of faith does not need proof. It creates proof. It does not beg for signs. It becomes the sign. And that is why discipline is not just habit, it is devotion. When recognition comes, most people misunderstand it. They assume congratulations mean arrival, comfort, or permission to slow down. But in reality, recognition is often a signal of increased responsibility. It is not a reward. It is a test of readiness. When life acknowledges you, it is not asking you to relax. It is asking whether you can carry more without losing balance. This is what it means to be trusted with more weight. Weight is not always visible. It does not always arrive as difficulty. Sometimes it arrives as opportunity, choice, influence, or silence. Sometimes it arrives as expectation. Sometimes it arrives as temptation. Many people can survive suffering. But very few can survive responsibility. Suffering humbles you. Responsibility exposes you. When more is placed in your hands, your discipline, integrity, and awareness are tested at a deeper level. You may have noticed that as you grew stronger, life did not become lighter. In some ways, it became heavier. Your awareness expanded. Your standards increased. You could no longer tolerate what you once ignored. You became more sensitive to misalignment, more aware of wasted time, more conscious of your actions. This is not overthinking. This is growth. With greater awareness comes greater burden. You see more, so you must respond better. Trust is not given randomly. Life does not place weight on W. Life does not place weight on W. Weak structures. If pressure increased, it is because your foundation proved stable. When you handled difficulty without collapsing, when you remained disciplined without supervision, when you stayed grounded without reassurance, you demonstrated reliability. Reliability invites responsibility. This is a law, not a preference. Being trusted with more weight also means being held to a higher standard. You cannot behave as casually as before. You cannot afford emotional chaos. You cannot indulge in constant distraction, not because you are restricted, but because you are responsible for more than just yourself now. Even if no one openly depends on you, your future self does. Your actions today are shaping who you will be allowed to become tomorrow. This weight often feels unfair at first. You may wonder why others seem to move freely while you feel constrained. Why others can be careless while you must be careful. Why others can escape consequences while you must face them. This is not punishment. This is not punishment. This is precision. When life sees potential, it demands refinement. When life sees fragility, it allows indulgence. Indulgence is not kindness, it is neglect. The Shaolin understanding of strength is deeply connected to responsibility. A strong body without control is dangerous. A sharp mind without discipline is destructive. A powerful will without humility is unstable. Strength must be contained. Weight trains contained. Weight trains contained. The heavier the responsibility, the more precise your movement must become. You learn to move with intention. You learn to conserve energy. You learn to choose carefully. You may feel that mistakes now cost more than before, that small missteps have larger consequences. This is another sign of growth. When capacity increases, margin for error decreases. This is not to scare you, it is to sharpen you. Awareness must match power, otherwise power becomes chaos. Being trusted also means life will stop rescuing you. Earlier, mistakes may have been forgiven quickly. Consequences may have been softened. Now, you are expected to correct yourself. This is not abandonment. This is respect. Guidance becomes subtler. Answers are no longer given directly. You are expected to observe, reflect, and adjust. Independence is not loneliness. It is earned autonomy. It is also an inner weight that comes with maturity. You become more selective with words. You feel the impact of your presence. You realize that your behavior influences others even when you say nothing. This awareness can feel heavy, but it is also grounding. You are no longer unconscious. You are accountable. Many people crave importance without understanding its cost. Importance requires restraint. It requires patience. It requires the ability to delay gratification. You have been training these muscles without realizing it. Every time you chose discipline over impulse, you were preparing to carry more. Every time you stayed calm under pressure, you were proving that you could hold weight without spilling it onto others. Weight also reveals where attachment still exists. When responsibility increases, unresolved habits, emotional dependencies, and ego patterns become more visible. This is not failure, it is feedback. You are being shown what must be strengthened before the next level. Growth does not remove weakness instantly. It reveals it so it can be trained. Promotion in life is rarely announced. There is no ceremony. There is only increased expectation. You notice that excuses no longer satisfy you, that mediocrity feels heavier than effort, that distraction feels more painful than discipline. This inner shift is significant. It means you have outgrown certain ways of living. You cannot return without discomfort. That is a sign of advancement. Being trusty with more weight does not mean you must carry it alone. It means you must carry it consciously. You learn when to stand firm and when to yield. You learn when to act and when to wait. You learn to ask for guidance without surrendering. Responsibility, balance becomes essential. There is also a moral weight that comes with recognition. You understand that your actions either contribute to order or chaos. You cannot pretend neutrality. Doing nothing becomes a choice with consequences. This awareness matures your decision-making. You think beyond immediate outcomes. You consider long-term impact. This is wisdom forming. Life does not congratulate potential. It congratulates capacity. Capacity is proven by how you handle weight. Not how loudly you speak about purpose, but how quietly you carry responsibility. If you feel pressure now, it is because something valuable is being shaped. Pressure reveals shape. Without pressure, form remains undefined. This weight will test your humility. You may be tempted to feel superior because you can carry more. That temptation must be resisted. The moment weight feeds ego, it becomes destructive. True strength bows inward. It remains teachable. It remains aware of its limits. Humility keeps weight balanced. You may also be tempted to resent the weight, to wish for simplicity, to envy those who seem unburdened. Remember this, those without weight are not necessarily free. Many are simply not trusted yet. Freedom without responsibility leads to stagnation. Responsibility without freedom leads to resentment. You are being taught the balance. As you grow, the weight will change form. It may become leadership, influence, clarity, or solitude. Each form requires a different posture. Strength is not static, it adapts. What remains constant is discipline, awareness, and alignment. When God congratulates you in this sense, it is not applause. It is acknowledgement that you can now be held accountable for more, that you can be relied upon, that you can be trusted to act correctly without supervision. This is not a burden to fear. It is an honor to carry. Do not rush to prove yourself. Weight is not impressed by speed. It responds to stability. Move steadily. Adjust often. Stay grounded. Adjust often. Stay grounded. The path ahead requires less force and more precision. And remember this, weight is not meant to crush you. It is meant to shape you. If you carry it with awareness, it will strengthen you. If you resist it with ego, it will exhaust you. Choose wisely. You are not being tested because you are weak. You are being trusted because you are ready. After survival, after discipline, after responsibility, the final challenge is subtle. It is not external, it is internal. It is the temptation to announce yourself, to display your progress, to seek confirmation that your struggle was seen and valued. This is where many people undo years of work, not through failure but through noise. This is why the final instruction is simple but demanding. Stay humble, stay sharp, stay silent. Humility, stay sharp, stay silent. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. It is understanding that your growth is not a performance. It does not require an audience. The moment you begin to measure your worth through recognition, you surrender your center. True humility is stable. It does not rise with praise or collapse with criticism. It keeps you grounded in effort, not outcome. As you grow stronger, the ego will try to claim credit. It will whisper that you are different, superior, chosen. This voice is dangerous, not because confidence is wrong, but because ego distorts perception. It creates blindness. When ego leads, learning stops, correction feels like insult, feedback feels like attack. Humility keeps your senses open. It allows you to keep refining even when others think you have already arrived. In Shaolin philosophy, mastery is quiet. The most skilled warrior does not seek conflict. The deepest practitioner does not advertise wisdom. Power that needs display is unstable. Strength that needs applause is fragile. When you are truly grounded, you do not need to convince anyone. Your presence speaks without effort. Staying sharp requires constant attention. Growth dulls when comfort increases. Success, even internal success, can make the mind lazy. You begin to repeat patterns instead of refining them. You rely on what worked before instead of responding to what is required now. Sharpness is the refusal to operate on autopilot. It is alertness in every action. Sharpness means you continue training even when you feel capable, especially then. It means questioning your assumptions. It means checking your habits. It means noticing where you are becoming careless, where discipline is slipping under the disguise of confidence. A blade does not stay sharp by being admired. It stays sharp by being honed. The mind, like the body, loses precision without use. When things start going well, attention often drifts. You relax your standards. You skip small practices. You delay correction. Over time, this creates weakness. Staying sharp means respecting the basics, returning to fundamentals again and again. Breath, posture, intention, action. These are never outgrown. Silence is the hardest part. Not physical silence, but expressive restraint. The urge to explain yourself, to announce your transformation, to seek understanding. Silence is not secrecy. It is containment. It is choosing when to speak and when not to. Not everyone deserves access to your process. Not everyone will understand your discipline. Some will mock it. Some will minimize it. Some will minimize it. Some will try to pull you back into old patterns to feel comfortable. Silence protects your direction. It prevents unnecessary interference. Energy that is not spent explaining can be used for building. Silence also reveals truth. When you stop talking, you start observing. You notice patterns in others. You notice your own reactions. You hear what is actually being said beneath words. This awareness sharpens intuition. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding intelligently. And there is also a spiritual dimension to silence. When you do not rush to speak, you create space. In that space, clarity emerges. Answers arise without force. Many mistakes are made not because people lack intelligence, but because they speak before they see clearly. Silence delays error. Staying humble, sharp, and silent also means resisting the need for validation. Validation is addictive. It feels harmless, but it slowly shifts your motivation from integrity to approval. When approval becomes the fuel, discipline weakens. You begin to adjust yourself to be liked rather than aligned. This is a quiet form of self-betrayal. Humility keeps you connected to effort. Sharpness keeps you responsive. Silence keeps you protected. Together, they form stability. Without humility, sharpness becomes arrogance. Without sharpness, silence becomes stagnation. Without silence, humility becomes performance. Balance is essential. You may notice that as you become more grounded, your circle becomes smaller. This is natural. Noise repels depth. Depth attracts fewer but stronger connections. Do not mistake isolation for loss. Often it is refinement. Quality replaces quantity. Clarity replaces chaos. There will be moments when you are misunderstood, when people project intentions onto you that are not yours, when your quietness is interpreted as pride or distance. Resist the urge to correct every misunderstanding. Most explanations are not received, they are resisted. Let consistency speak over time. Truth does not need urgency. Staying silent does not mean never speaking. It means speaking with intention. When words are necessary, they are precise. When guidance is needed, it is given without ego. When boundaries are required, they are set calmly. Silence gives weight to words. Those who speak rarely are heard clearly. The more you grow, the more temptation there will be to relax your inner discipline, to think you have earned ease. Ease is not wrong, but unconscious ease is dangerous. Sharpness means enjoying peace without losing alertness, calm without complacency, rest without decay. Humility also reminds you that the path never ends. There is always refinement ahead, always deeper understanding, always another layer to shed. This keeps you grounded and motivated without pressure. You move forward not to prove, but to align. When God's message ends with congratulations, it is not an ending, it is a checkpoint, a moment of acknowledgement before continued movement. The instruction that follows is not celebration, but conduct. Bow inwardly, lower your ego, tighten your focus, reduce your noise, let your life speak. Because the strongest presence is not the loudest, it is the most grounded.